I don't get much spare time with the primaries going on, but I really have enjoyed reading and just finished Karl Rove's new book called Triumph about the election of William McKinley in 1896 and why it still matters today. It's a wonderful, fascinating read. It gives you a real understanding of what Republican and Democratic politics was like at the end of the 19th century. That was a period in which the old way of running political campaigns, which was essentially that the candidate was a franchise and the name was there, but then the party took it from there and ran a whole campaign with canvassing and volunteer and with paid workers and volunteers and everything, and the candidate had really nothing to do with his own campaign. In fact, by tradition, he couldn't even participate. And that changed dramatically in 1896, with both candidates working like hell. McKinley oddly staying on his front porch, but almost 1 million people being bussed in to be at the front porch and to hear him speak. And Bryan, the Democrat, knocking himself out, running around the country, appearing to 2 to 3 million people, with the voting population in the U.S. at that point of about 10 or 12 million. The most extraordinary change in political campaigning. The interesting point, though, about that election is that the Populist Party had started in 1892, 4 years before, with a very advanced, very important program that largely became the basis of the liberal and progressive agenda for the first half of the 20th century. They wanted an income tax. They wanted women to have the right to vote. They wanted all direct primaries to nominate candidates rather than the bosses choosing them. They wanted recall of officials. They wanted referenda and propositions directly passed by the voters. So much of the substance of our political world today came from that. But in 1896, they got deluded and diluted by the lure of silver currency. At the time, there was a long-standing depression that had dragged on for many years, and Bryan and the Democratic Party said the solution to that is to debase the currency by letting silver as well as gold be used in the currency, and having silver pegged at a 16-to-1 ratio to gold, which was being pegged far higher than it deserved. Essentially, it was a way to pay people with 50 and 60-cent dollars and drive the cost of debts down, but also drive wages down, and obviously debtors could repay the debt with inflated currency. It was a horrific idea, and had it passed, it would have debased the United States. It might have dragged the world into a depression, and we certainly would not have had the economic development we've had since. So holding the line on that aspect of the agenda was really important. Now, of course, the rest of the populist agenda was very good, and by the time Wilson became president, most of it had been adopted, or by the time Wilson left office. But this was an instance, one of the few in our politics, in fact, perhaps the only one in our politics, where a candidate won the party nomination by a great speech. At the convention that the Democratic Party had, Bryan gave this incredible speech, and the last line of it is very memorable. He said, "You shall not press down upon labor's brow this crown of thorns. You shall not crucify mankind on a cross of gold." By that he meant, don't crucify us by having only the gold standard, coin silver as well. And that just swept the convention. Bryan had not had any real delegates before that. Nobody thought he would win. And all of a sudden, everybody switched to him. And the next day, he was easily nominated and campaigned like a dervish, giving hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, maybe even over 1,000 speeches throughout the country. But McKinley had a very well-ordered machine run by Mark Hanna, who in a sense was Karl's and my predecessor in this occupation. And he put together a wonderful organization. And it is so worth reading this, because you read not only about the election, you read Rove's view of the election, seen through his eyes as a political manager. Wonderful book. Do yourself a favor and read it. Thanks for watching. Click on the link attached to this video to hear my podcast, which is an in-depth analysis of the political situation. It runs about half an hour. It's more than I can do on these video alerts, lunch alerts. And click on the link with this email and you can hear it. Or go to dickmorris.com or podcast1.com or iTunes. I think you'll enjoy it. Thanks for watching and listening.